Can we say that the Tesla Model 3 has curb appeal? I'm not really sure. What's going on, YouTube? I'm your brother Reza. This is KRT LYFE, KRT LYFE with the Y, and this is 5 in 5. And I do a lot of car reviews on my channel. That's like one of my favorite things to do. And seldom do I give the owners of the cars opportunities to give their inputs or give their rebuttals to my reviews. But in the case of this Tesla Model 3 behind me, the owner of this Tesla happens to be my best friend since I can remember anything. So I'm giving him the rare opportunity to rebuke, is that the word?
Yeah.
Rebuke.
Rebut.
To rebut, exactly, to rebut my review and give his 2 cents about the car. And since this car happens to be one of my, so far when I hit my highest viewed reviews, I think that would be good to give him an opportunity to say, hey, this is what you got wrong about the Tesla Model 3.
I received my Tesla Model 3 back in February of 2018. And I've been, actually was one of the reservation holders. The day it came out, I had a Tesla Model S, and I still reserved the Model 3. And today I still own the Model 3. And it's a beautiful car.
Let's put that in context. He wanted the Model 3 so bad that he was willing to be stuck with 2 Teslas just so he could have a Model 3.
The more Teslas, the better.
The more Teslas, the better. That's how diehard and dedicated Tesla fans are, and you have to some degree commend that. So I did a review on your car, and you didn't like the number that I gave your car and the final score. So in case you haven't seen that first the first review of the Tesla Model 3, you can go right here and click on this link, and you can see my original review of this Tesla Model 3. But for those who've already seen it, you know that I gave it 3 out of 5. And you don't like the fact that I gave the car a 3 out of 5. Now, can you tell all of my viewers out there why you don't like the 3 out of 5?
Yeah. So I mean, it comes down to one thing. I think you were really spot on the different categories. The one was curb appeal.
Okay.
Now, right now we are sitting in my garage,
literally on the curb,
and I mean, you have to ask your viewers out there, is this a beautiful car? Now, granted, let's put it in context, right? This is a $50,000 car, right? Initially, Tesla came out and they said the Model 3 will be the everyman's car, starting at $35,000. At the end of the day, this is a $50,000 car to get it the way.
And that was one of the things that some of the Tesla owners out there were like, oh no, and not even just Tesla owners that actually commented on my video, but people that I spoke to in conversation that saw the video afterwards that know me personally said, hey, the car's $35,000. You're giving people the wrong information, but you're an owner.
It is correct.
It is a $50,000 car.
And the only reason I say that is because it does start at $35,000, but that version that's going to be $35,000 has not come out yet, right? So that's the standard version. It's going to have a smaller battery. It's going to have less features, but it's not out yet. So, and really, so what's happened since then, right? You look at the response that Tesla has got from this vehicle. They are just trying to keep up with demand, right? So now all the reservation holders have their vehicles. To this quarter, Q3, it has outsold every sedan that BMW makes, right, in Q3.
Right.
And it's predicted to do the same thing back at, starting in Q4, right, at the end of this year. And I think half of it is because, this is the thing too, it's very hard to rate this car because it is a disruption. So when the iPhone came out.
It's almost in its own class. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So when the iPhone came out, it was very hard to compare it to a BlackBerry or to a Nokia or to some of those other phones because it was a major disruption. And that's really why you have this fanboy following around Tesla. I've seen other electric cars out there that are supposed to be coming out in the future that
like
also
the Chevy Volt or stuff like that.
The Chevy Volt
or the Mission E.
The Mission E, the Porsche, beautiful looking car. Let's see if they can actually deliver on what they're actually asking to do. So I think that's half the challenge with the Tesla. It's new, it's a disruptor, it's hard to categorize it, but on curb appeal, Reza, you missed it, man. This is a beautiful car. I mean, I would say on average, most people would look at this car, and you can even hide the emblem. Just look at the car and say, hey, this is a pretty car. This is a beautiful car for $50,000.
Now, okay, I'll say this. I'll say that to me, it is a beautiful car. with the right settings, like with the right options, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I say, if you put the right wheel package on it and if you get the right color, then it is a beautiful car. But I feel like the standard setting, the standard wheel that comes with it, doesn't do the car justice.
No.
Like that 4-blade fan thing that comes with it, it's horrendous. If you don't get the right color, it doesn't look good. Yeah. It's not one of those cars that looks good in every color, no matter how you get it. It's just amazing. And you gotta, like, I look at it like this. Yes, this is I guess the competitors for this would be like a 3 Series, right?
Yeah.
Or a 3 Series or a C-Class Mercedes. That's what it competes with. But when you look at the price, for $50,000, when you look at the other options that you can get, how does this hold up against them versus in terms of curb appeal?
Yeah.
And when you look at it in that context, it's kind of harder to measure it, to rank it so high and say, oh, okay, this car is a 4 in curb appeal, or this car even gets a full point for curb appeal, because now you're looking at a price bracket that I don't feel like aesthetically this is ready to compete in yet. Mechanically, yes. Yeah. Aesthetically, it's different.
Yeah, so a $50,000 car. You want to compare, and again, it's very hard to compare this car to a lot of the luxury cars out there. But closest what we would do is we look at Mercedes. We say either souped up with a lot of features and packages,
right.
C-Class, or stripped down E-Class. That's really what it's going to look like. It really, pound for pound, it has those same features. It has the plush leather. It's more of a minimalistic look. But it's going to have like the accent lighting. It's going to have some of the abilities to change the wheel packages, go from the 18-inch 4-blade wheels to the 19-inch blade wheels. And honestly, that 18-inch standard was really more of an efficiency thing. So they have those things on there that actually increase your range, and that really drives me back to why this car is such a disruptor, because it's the first luxury, beautiful, all-electric vehicle. Tesla had to make some decisions when it came down to design and engineering versus aesthetics, right? And that's kind of that balance that they had to do. Just like when the iPhone came out, it was the first, beautiful phone that was glass. They had to make some decisions that maybe durability-wise, it's not going to hold up to, a Nokia or some of those phones that were out there, but it was still beautiful and it did something that those others couldn't.
Okay, so when you say that this is the first luxury, I wanted to harp on that point right there. When you say it's the first luxury electric vehicle, now
next to Karma Fisher.
Next to the Fisker Karma, right? Yeah. Okay, so when you say that, when you're trying to build something that's luxury, now there's so many different ways I want to break this apart and dissect this. Now I feel like when you build a car, right? Let's say this center is just a car. When you go in any direction, let's say luxury or efficiency, you have to give some to gain some, right? Yeah. Like for instance, you want to make it more efficient, it's gonna suffer in luxury, right?
Well, like you may, like for instance, Mercedes is like a lot of plushness, to the vehicle, right?
And that affects efficiency.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's going towards my point. So,
but plushness doesn't always equal luxury, right? So you can be minimalistic and still luxury at the same time, the way that you design the minimalistic look, right? Like some certain condos and homes are very minimalistic, very designed, but they're modern and luxury, just in a different format.
Right. Well, and that goes with styling and aesthetics, right? But when you're talking about comfort and stuff like that, like for instance, like this car, I feel like one of the things that, excuse me, that they sacrificed luxury for efficiency is with comfort in the seats. Like the seats are okay, but they're not as comfortable as a Mercedes seat or even the Hellcat seat. And I will go on camera saying that Hellcat that I reviewed, those are the most comfortable car seats I've ever sat in my life, in any vehicle, period. I will say that for the record. That being said, I feel like with the Tesla, now, me personally, from the outside looking in, and being a person who's driven several Tesla vehicles, I don't feel like I'm in a luxury car when I'm driving a Tesla, personally.
Model S or Model 3 are both in the same category?
More so in the Model S, absolutely not in the Model 3. Okay. Like when I drive a Model 3, I don't feel like I'm in a luxury vehicle. I feel like I'm in a vehicle that is probably more comparable with maybe a higher end Mazda or
a Honda Accord
or a higher end Accord. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I don't feel like the Model 3 really. I feel like it competes in price with the BMWs, but I feel like honestly, like if you look at the latest Accord and the latest Camry that's come out, they're really nice cars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I mean, we wouldn't classify those as luxury cars because I feel like the bar for the luxury car has risen so high that I don't feel like the Model 3 really competes in that luxury section, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, this is kind of, it gets back into the preference, right? I would say the Model S felt very plush, felt very luxurious. The Tesla Model 3, there was actually something where they talked about how like the seats were a bit tough, especially the ones in the back, and they did an update, right? Mm-hmm. They put in new seats. Now they didn't wait for
Now this one doesn't have this. This one
it doesn't have that
okay.
seat update, right? But it was just like a few months ago. They just decided, hey, we're gonna improve the seat cushion, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why I talk about it being somewhat of a disruptor. Like we talk about, okay, this is a 2018 Tesla Model 3, but that 2018 doesn't really mean anything because the way that they actually, build these cars, they're constantly improving it.
Right.
And the second they find that extra efficiency or that extra way to improve it or make it perform better, they just add it to it.
But how does that affect the consumer, the end buyer? Because now you've bought into the product, and literally your product is obsolete as soon as you buy it. And yes, every car is going to do that.
Just like
but yours is going to become obsolete even faster. So doesn't that affect the resale price?
But again, it talks about the paradigm of vehicles, right? And the concept of do you own a vehicle? Do you lease it? Do you rent it? What is the function of a car? Now, like for you and me, we grew up on a car meant freedom, right? It literally meant like once you could drive, that you had the ability to kind of go anywhere that you wanted to, right? This new generation, they don't look at it that way. Like the generation of Uber and Lyft and like all these different things out there, they're going to grow up in a world where that's not necessarily the case. The internet was their freedom.
Right.
So like my children probably will never learn how to drive, right? And this talks about autonomous vehicles. Mm-hmm. This is another reason why this car is $50,000 because it has the capability to be autonomous, right? I could literally drive to work in this car, hit a button, and again, this is not today, but in the future, it has the capability where I hit a button and it goes back home.
Right.
Or it goes and parks itself somewhere. Or it goes and picks people up and does the Uber thing and makes me some money while I'm working.
But see, okay, and we're getting off a little bit off topic, but now I'm saying, to me, it feels like, now that drives me even further away from, is this a car or is this just a pod?
Yeah.
Is this just a person carrying pod that just carries people from point A to point B, but it's not actually a car anymore? Because to me, when I think of the ideal of a car, the way I define a car is something that I drive, something that I control, and something that I experience through my my sensory system, and I control it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you relinquish control of the vehicle, it's like
is it really
it's not a car by definition anymore to me. It's just it's a step up. It's a step up from public transportation at that point, in my opinion. Not really public transportation, but
personal bus.
It's like a personal bus of sorts. That's like, and it's like it takes the whole car experience away from the end user.
I mean, and again, that's why I say, like, again, I like your review. Again, I have problems with the curb appeal side, but I like the review because it was honest. But this car is very hard to completely categorize because, again, they made provisions. There are 6 cameras around the car. There's sensors around the car. They've made provisions to make this car autonomous, and at the same time, they still had to make sure that it was at least beautiful enough to where someone who cared about these certain things that was looking for an electric vehicle would say, this is a beautiful car and I want to buy it, right? So in a sense, Tesla's leaders in that space. Now, a lot of other car manufacturers are moving in that direction, right? Mercedes is looking in that direction, BMW, everyone else is as well. So, again, it's hard to necessarily put it in that space, but to me, we're at an interesting point in automobiles.
Yeah,
right?
We are.
Because we are literally at that inflection point. I mean, think about it. 50 years ago, you take someone, 1950, and you put them in today's car, they know what it is. They could still drive it. If you went back 50 years from now and you saw those vehicles, you could drive it. It would be essentially functionally the same type of vehicle, steering wheel, seats. The next 50 years, it's going to be totally different.
Yeah,
totally different.
It's going to be different. It's going to be interesting. But that takes us away from the point. The point is, aesthetically, curb appeal. Does this car get a point or not?
I mean, I'll let your fans be the final judge, man. Thumbs up
I still
for the curb appeal point, which will give it a 4 out of 5, which I'm happy with. Honestly, that's a good score for the Tesla Model 3. Thumbs down for keeping it the same. So I'll let them be the final judge.
Let the crowd be the arbitrators. And there was one other thing that I wanted to touch on. All right, so before we wrap this thing up, last thing I wanted to talk about was, in my video, I said that the Tesla Model 3 engineers didn't have chivalry in mind when they developed this vehicle because you could only access it via the the key card on one side of the vehicle. You cannot access it on the opposite side of the vehicle. A lot of people were like, oh, dude, you're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. Tesla owners use their cell phone to get access to the card. So can you speak on that a little bit since you're the actual owner of the vehicle?
Yeah, so I mean, essentially, it's a 2018 car, right? And again, it's operated with just your phone. So the funny thing is now, a lot of times I leave my wallet at home because all I really need is my phone. I can do everything I need to do with my phone. So the second you have your phone on you through Bluetooth, it knows you're around. And once you hit the door handle, it actually opens and it recognizes through your phone.
Well, what happens if you're one of those people whose smartphone dies or dies
That is
a
what
lot?
the key card is for. So you can use the key card. Your phone doesn't work. Your phone's busted. Or
what if you left home without your key card and your smartphone dies? Your battery, because that's the thing that can happen.
Again, and it goes back to what they designed it for. They're not going to design it for every situation. I mean, with a regular car, right?
But okay, so let me ask you this though. Why would they not make it accessible via the access card on both panels, on the passenger side and the driver's side? I don't understand why they did that. Did it save money, or?
I think it's because they expected that you would use that as a secondary purpose, which means they don't have to make it as convenient, right? So if it's not the main way that you're going to use it, if it's a secondary way that for whatever reason I don't have my phone, then all you really needed is to get access, right? So
I feel like that's gonna be one of those updates that they throw in just randomly, where they're gonna be like, oh, okay, you can access it from both sides now.
Literally, that's
because
just
Elon Musk saw my review and he sees how I clown Tesla for only giving access to one side of the car. I honestly, I understand it, Tesla fans. I understand that you're supposed to open your Tesla Model 3 with your phone, but I still think that you should be able to access it from both sides with the card as well.
And that's an easy sensor. That's a simple sensor that they can just put on.
That's why I don't know why they just wouldn't do that from the rip. But anyway, that is, I guess, my best friend's, one of my best friends, but he's one of my oldest best friends, chances to, what is it called?
To rebut the review.
Yes, to rebut my review about the, what year is it?
2018
Tesla Model 3. This is 5 and 5. This is the Tesla Model 3 right here. It is a great car. Don't get me wrong.
4 for 5.
I still give it a 3. I still give it a 3 for 5. Okay, so you know what cars get 4s?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. Has any car got a 5?
No, nothing's gotten a 5 yet. But the Lamborghini got a 4.5. Hellcat got a 4. It's you got to be pretty good.
Standards are right. You get some high standards.
You got to. Everybody can't get a 5. Anyway, this is 5 and 5. I'm your brother Reza. This is your brother Wole. Check him out. Do you have any social media or anything like that?
Not a whole lot. Just a bunch of my kids. Right? You can follow my kid. I'll put her in the comment on Instagram.
There you go. And this is the Tesla Model 3. Oh, and we're going to leave you with some video of this thing driving off by itself. It's really cool. Check it out.
Something kind of in the way, it'll actually try to maneuver around it.
Oh, wow. Like it kind of turned just then?
Yeah.
The car is driving on its own. There's nobody inside of it. Even though I've seen this before, it's still weird. This is not the first time I've seen this. He's had a Model S that can do the same thing, but it still freaks me out when I see this. All right, Tesla Model 3 is backing up on me in autonomous mode. Well, it's being controlled by a cell phone right now. Not really autonomous. And I'm going to stand my ground. Oh, my goodness.
Did it stop?
I don't know. Did it? It stopped, but is it stopped?
I'm pressing it, and it's not going anywhere.
Oh, I can see on the screen it's looking at me.
Yeah. It's saying, yeah.
It stopped. Hey, it didn't kill me.
That.
Oh, with the switch over here?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a start-stop button. It's a start-stop switch of sorts.
You gotta hit the brakes.
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, so it's on now. It doesn't feel like it crunk up,
No.
but it doesn't feel like it crunk up, but it's on because it's a hybrid. So I guess we're gonna set off now. The engine's actually running, or is it just on a battery right now?
It's on a battery. If it's got